Yeah. Me too. So I'll do that I'll do all that like how's everyone. Have you got your phone plugged in, Sam?
Yeah, well, no, it's because I've got to plug the mic in, but it's got enough battery.
Battery.
Okay, yeah, I'm recording.
Are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
How you doing, Johnny?
I'm fine, thank you.
And how are you, Sam?
Feeling on top of the world.
Yeah, Johnny's really stressed people because he lives in a world. Basically, he tried to sing a Beach Boys song from his favorite Beach Boys record, "Summer in Paradise."
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And when he did, his internet immediately was kind of, I don't know, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist or anything, but immediately was hijacked by a foreign entity, probably a foreign government entity is what it felt like. And we've had to do all sorts of technical kind of, we've had to employ all sorts of technical know-how to figure it all out. You know what I mean?
Well, I've been on MAGA's hit list for a long time, and everybody knows
100%.
Everybody knows that Mike Love is actually the original MAGA figurehead. Pre-Trump.
Yeah, do you want to explain that a little bit to Sam?
Well, it's really more of an aesthetic thing that he is nothing. I mean, his politics as well, obviously, but it all began with him wearing a red hat in the Summer of Love music video from the album Summer in Paradise, 1992.
I've seen it.
He's also got kind of one of those red jackets that Trump liked to wear, you know, when
kind
he's
of Air Force style.
Yeah, coming off the golf course, getting off of Air Force One kind of thing.
But straight onto the golf course.
He's like a I've seen that video today as you sent me it, and he has got like a proto-Trump sort of aesthetic going on. Definitely encouraged him on that. And his politics.
Well, I don't think that like the thing is, like, Trump wasn't looking like that at that time either. Like, that was like totally Mike Love's aesthetic. Like, that was like Trump with Epstein dressed as a businessman, Little St. James Island Trump. It's a different era for him. He's kind of the entrepreneur guy, apprentice guy, right? And Mike Love was fully just like, doing like what we now consider as like Trump's aesthetic, which is like, the kind of coming onto the golf course from a helicopter, like, and wearing always wearing a baseball cap.
It's very true, actually, yeah. And I don't know, Trump is kind of maybe a long-lost Beach Boy.
That's
but, you know,
possible.
in that video you sent me today, and you guys, was it you, Johnny, who suggested that maybe Brian isn't in it? There's a puppet.
Well, he's not in it, and you can clearly see because they only use a profile shots of a sort of portly, dark-haired man who looks like Brian Wilson, and you know, there's one shot of him, but it's clearly a celebrity lookalike.
A lookalike.
Well, I was thinking about it before, and I've seen Brian Wilson play live a few times over the last sort of 10 years. I'm sure you guys have, with his band, and I've always thought that he was, you know, sometimes his mouth doesn't move, but the words are still coming out of the PA, and I'm thinking maybe Brian, I've thought this before, that Brian might be a puppet, because they're just sort of wheeling out onto the tour just to continue to bring in the dollars. And maybe Mike Love had Brian's corpse sort of taxidermied and fitted with some animatronics.
Kind of, like a Chuck E. Cheese kind of thing.
Yeah, and then maybe the first outing was that video in the Summer of Love, and then maybe Brian's wife didn't know about that, and it's taken him back, and that's what the internal war really is between the Beach Boy,
who has control over the Brian Wilson animatronic.
Yeah, the corpse. Yeah, because that's the moneymaker. You know,
I suppose so.
Yeah, you know, because he's on some kind of strings. I've seen him on Glastonbury, and there's a Brian voice coming out the PA, but his mouth doesn't move.
Yeah, it's there's a shadowy kind of figure I've seen behind his piano singing.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Johnny Depp has. Yeah, Johnny Depp has a guy like that on the Hollywood Vampires stage. So every time they throw a solo over to him, it actually goes to a second shooter. It's kind of like, you know, JFK. There's like a guy there on the grassy knoll, but in the case of the Hollywood Vampires, it's a guy just kind of behind a curtain,
Playing the solo.
obscured. Yeah. and
Well, I
Johnny
think
just-
Buffalo Springfield did that too back at the Monterey Pop Festival when Neil Young quit the band. They had
It's
a guy
certainly
backstage.
never been explained why who we've tried to figure out who it was who was playing that solo for a long time.
Because you got David Crosby on stage using the guitar more like a percussion, a wind instrument, sort of. And then you've got Neil's leads coming from somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And he's certainly not there.
I mean,
No,
maybe they were the first band to use sort of backing tracks.
Yeah, I always think of like Depeche Mode as being the first band to do that because of that 101
Right,
documentary where they're running tape machines. But like now, it seems like pretty obvious that it was probably Buffalo Springfield in 1968.
What about Suicide?
Did
Or
they
like
do
bands
that?
like that? I feel like maybe they had some stuff going.
What
you
about,
know,
like-
technically, Suicide were the first ones to use backing tracks and loops and things like that, which is actually quite a post Velvet Underground sort of thing. You know,
Sorry,
'cause John Cale
who are we
experimented.
talking about? Who are we talking to here?
Sorry, my name's Jetson. I just popped in, from my basement here in Oxnard, California. It's just south of LA, because I heard you were doing Velvet Underground episode, and I know a lot about them because, like, technically, sort of like people say that I'm kind of the John Cale of Oxnard, like,
Interesting.
yeah, and so more
Do you
into
write for
kind of.
Pitchfork?
Yeah, I mean, I've done some freelance work for them for sure because, like, I was the first one here to run my trumpet through a loop pedal, so
Nice.
it's kind of like
Nice,
Yeah.
dude.
I'm still really a big part of the sort of Central California avant-garde scene.
That's so interesting, actually.
People who
Jetson.
have loop pedals and they do those gigs where it's just them and a loop pedal, they're just sort of admitting that they don't have any friends, aren't they?
Yeah, 100%. That's all it means.
Well, I have lots of friends, so
Yeah.
I have more cows than you have friends.
I have
Sam does,
I
actually.
have like 1,026 friends
Nice.
on Facebook.
MySpace.
Yeah.
It would be MySpace, I suppose. It's that era.
MySpace is like I bet there's still a thriving community on there of sort of, people who Pitchfork readers.
Were you in
Try
my?
and keep it
Were
real.
we were. I think you were probably in my top 8. So.
I hope so.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I think you were probably in my top 8.
You could used to pull a girl by putting her in your top 8. You'd be like, I'll put you in there.
That's all it took.
If we can, make out.
Yeah, it was really good for like meeting people in like before I moved to Vancouver, I just like sort of scoured MySpace for the scene, you know what I mean? Figured it out. But I guess like, yeah, you're right, Jetson or Johnny, welcome back Johnny. That
Thanks.
like if you think about it, you said Suicide, but John Cale used loops and stuff. So
He did.
they'd have been the first band to use backing tracks, really, if you think about it like that.
Yeah, I think actually we answered our own question there. I
Yeah.
think they were.
Yeah, I think so too. Which is kind of
So-
something that Lou would probably not feel too good about, being like considered the grandfather of like tracks.
No, well, he like most cutthroat businessmen in the rock and roll business. I think he just wanted hits.
Really?
I think he did, although he'd probably be happy that they were, like a freaking people out and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that's the whole thing with Loaded, right? He was like, we finally have to have some goddamn hits.
Is that for money? They wanted money, or they wanted just hits for hits' sake?
More heroin.
I think they wanted people to like recognize how great their band was. That's what it was all about.
A lot of people don't even realize this, but actually, the song "Heroin" is actually about doing heroin, and you can hear in Mo Tucker's drumming like the kind of like pulsing sound, and that is like the feeling of heroin like going into your body. And I've never done it, but I would do it. I would, if like for my art, if I thought that it would make my art better. And that's my friend Jetson, actually, he's never done it either, but like we use loop pedals together, and when we do that, we often say like, I don't, like, let's stare into that abyss for our creativity.
Yeah, and actually, like, I think that definitely, like, all of the musicians who used heroin were the best musicians. I don't know why. It's just, like, kind of seems to be the case, like Elliott Smith and Lou Reed and John
Sheeran.
Lennon.
Ed Sheeran.
And, yeah, I mean, if he did heroin, he's probably a true artist. I don't know why, but it just seems to go hand in hand.
Sam, you were saying
Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, Poe, yeah. Burroughs.
Oh.
Yeah.
Burroughs.
Sigmund Freud.
We all should have really shot up some heroin for this podcast.
He did instead of doing speed. I don't know, man. And also Freud was doing coke, I think, mostly. But yeah, I'm more. I don't know. Like, it's kind of a bit of a speedy energy too.
Yeah.
It's just kind of keyed up in general. But you were saying, Sam, that your issue with the Velvet Underground, and I kind of agree, was that, like, it was a bit like smacky, but maybe not loaded, but it was a bit smacky when we were growing up in Manchester, and, like, we weren't really we were kind of we were dressed like cowboys, and they were, so there was a different scene. It was more like the retro bar scene, wasn't it?
Yeah, I didn't dare wear a leather jacket. I wore a tassel jacket because I wanted to be a cowboy. But yeah, I mean,
which is a much safer look, a much more realistic look for someone in Northern England.
I think Manchester's smacky enough that you don't need the Velvet Underground to feel like you're on heroin. You just have to walk around.
Yeah,
that's a little close to home, huh?
Well,
yeah, it was just too much.
Nico went there to follow the smack as well. I mean, that was where the best smack was. So she ended up living there with John Cooper Clarke and fucking Sean Ryder or something.
I think she ended up, at the Hacienda.
She ended up at the Hacienda, mate. That's where I fucking met her. That fucking song, Venus in First.
Nico.
Fucking tune, man. Sunday morning. Fucking tune.
Yeah, Nico. You got any smack?
Going down Manny for fucking chips and a Fanta later, and then we're going to go fucking round Nico's in Wally Range and fucking do a bag.
I think she lived in Moss Side in like a junk apartment.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine being in like a Fellini film, being in the Velvet Underground, hanging around with like Andy Warhol, and then all of a sudden it's 1988 and you're doing smack with Sean Ryder in Hume.
Yeah, I read after they've slum cleared it for the second time. I read a thing about Sean Ryder the other day where it was like, Sean Ryder on getting clean and learning how to read at 47.
Fuck off.
No, it's true. He didn't know the
alphabet.
alphabet,
his hair, hasn't he?
Like, he didn't know the alphabet.
Oh wow! Wow, he's a poet as well. I don't know, but I mean, he's lost all of his. He's got some condition where he's lost his eyebrows, his body hair, his
alopecia,
hair.
maybe.
Yeah, but it's his whole body, so he looks like this weird sort of greased
old baby.
Yeah,
really heroin baby.
Yeah, big junkie baby.
Yeah.
You guys, if you guys were trying to be cowboys, then you should be into Loaded. I feel like, because that's like their cowboy record. Is that why we chose this one?
Tell me about that, man.
I just mean I always thought it was weird. Okay, I was saying this last night that it, to me, it is kind of a country rock record as well as like other things that were like trending at the time.
Yeah,
because I think they were just trying that, like, as an experiment. If you probably took any other band and then they decided we're just gonna make songs that are like trendy right now to be successful and totally sell out to do it, it would probably be a terrible record. But something about the Velvet Underground being so, like, untouchably cool, they do it and it's just absolutely rules. It's so funny that they like try to copy Here Comes the Sun and then it's
like it's like a Wario version of Here Comes the Sun. It's kind of a Mario Wario situation with them.
Totally. Yeah.
It's just it's just, I mean, George Harrison was never into junk, was he? He wasn't a junkie, I don't think. I know John was, and that's why he did the darker records, but like
George had an appetite for children, didn't he? More, he was kind of his darkness was more.
He got really into cocaine in the 70s. Have you heard some of those stories?
We all did.
He in that documentary, there's where he gets like really, really skinny, and then he's on tour, and He famously used to garden, do loads of cocaine, and just garden for like weeks in his estate in England. That's what
it looks like a big garden that he's got
Yeah,
there.
it is, to be fair. So
you have to focus, yeah. When you
if it makes you focus, doesn't make me focus.
No, it makes me a bit, yeah.
Makes me want to.
But I don't think he was.
Yeah, so Velvet Underground is just like smacky Beatles, isn't it? It's just like
Loaded is.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I've never heard the record till today. So the only reason I'm here is just to hang out with you guys. But
right.
I had like the album with Nico on it when I was at uni, and I loved that. And
we put a banana on the front.
Yeah, yeah, fruity. And then
peel slowly and see. Peel slowly and see.
We put a banana on the front of it.
And I liked them, but I never went through their records. And so yeah, I know like 4 of the songs on the album, but the rest I've never heard in my life before. So I don't really know why I'm here, but it's nice to see you guys.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nice to see you
now
too,
that
mate,
I know
yeah.
that, I'll pivot the conversation back to "Summer in Paradise" by the Beach Boys.
Well,
I mean, to be honest,
no, I don't
I'm a Patreon of this wonderful podcast, and I listen to it, religiously. And you actually don't talk about the albums anymore, do you? So
You figured it out.
Well, we were thinking we'd start today, but
Well, wait another episode. Yeah.
Johnny's a really.
you
big
should
fan
listen to
of
the
this
third album by the Velvet
record.
Underground.
That's the
really
country
good.
one, isn't it?
It's kind of like it's just really like pretty and slow. And
like Velvet Underground
love
were
songs.
They were the first, their first indie band. They were the first. A lot of people trace, the whole of indie rock back to the Velvet Underground and Nico's first record. And I can say, when I go to Echo Park, and I sometimes take my copy of like Junkie or like Factotum. And I sit down on the bench, I feel Elliott Smith's presence, when I'm writing my poetry, because he killed himself there. And
it's a good place to
if I was to kill
energy.
myself, I would actually do it in a similar way where I'd shove a blade through my heart, because I understand music is pain and art is pain.
Yeah,
and,
totally.
And you can hear the Velvet Underground in, songs such as like Either or any of those early records.
Imagine if he didn't actually kill himself, Elliott Smith, and just he just fell on the knife or something.
Do you know what's funny? I remember I was in Manchester. I remember because it was probably just best left unsolved.
I was making a salad and I had a little hole.
Sam, this is good. Welcome to Impossible Way of Life, the podcast where James tries just to talk about his memories of growing up in Manchester with Sam. I remember, and like hopes he remembers the same things, because we tried to figure out which coffee shop we played an acoustic show in the other day.
I think it was called Hatch or something like that. Begin with an H.
No, Hatch was when we were down in Devon on acid, and it was Tiny Tommy Thatch. You're thinking?
Oh yeah, put a penny in the thatch.
Yeah, that was a different time. Cheese shorts.
We made those
We made those shorts out
This
of
is like
Kraft slices.
This may as well be.
Once, right? We went to Devon to play some gigs in a pub for no reason, and we went, which is like an 8-hour drive, and we all took a load of acid, and then all of a sudden, around the corner, my mum had decided to come to Devon and surprise me to my show, and I was just on acid. I was like, after the gig, I was tripping, and my friend had made some shorts out of cheese. And he'd like sewn together some cheese slices and made some shorts, and he was walking around, our friend Steve, and my mum turned up and she's like, "Hi!" I was like, "Oh my god!"
I remember you coming down from this campsite, like a grey slate colour, and you just went, "My mum's here."
and she's like, "I thought we could go for cream tea or something." And I was just like, she had 4 eyes.
Yeah. Actually, if we're going to just like talk about nothing for 2 more minutes, which would be nice. Remember that guy who took you on the ride of your life on that trip?
Oh my god, yeah, that was so. I can tell this story. I'll try and shorten it because it was quite insane. Me and our friend Steve were walking down this road in the middle of the night, and we'd been found a party.
It was the same night.
Yeah, it was the same night, and we found a party on the moors. It was like some surfers in a marquee having like a rave, and we went in, and we we got some speed off some of them, and then they kicked us out. So we started walking down the main road, and we're thumbing a lift, and this car came, and he pulled over, and we said, "Have you got any speed, sir?" And he said, "Where you're going, you don't need speed." And he threw us in his car, and then he drove to his house. And this is none of this is a lie. And he opened his garage, and he had a spaceship that he was building, like a flying saucer that he was building, and he claimed he could get off the ground. And then he got this big rubber ring, took us to the beach, which was behind his house, tied it to his car, ordered us both to get in it, and then he drove across the beach at about 60 miles an hour with us holding onto this ring, high on speed, and he was like bouncing us across the waves and then back onto the beach. And it was so funny, but also like if we'd fallen off, we'd have broken our backs or something. And he wouldn't stop. It went on for about like 20 minutes. That's how I want to get off. I want to get off.
Yeah.
I know. And then that was it.
I mean,
Then
that's
put
some
myself to
sort.
bed.
That's kind of like Velvet's energy, kind of risk taking. You know, partial lineage.
Yeah, it was quite velvety. I mean, it was more sort of psychedelic that evening. And there's a smuggler's tunnels there. It was in Cornwall where we were actually there at that point. And the smuggler's tunnels, and Steve went crawling through one, and he sat on a seagull's nest and sat on all the eggs, and he had like seagull egg goo all over his jeans.
A lot happened. It was a bit like the young ones.
Oh no, I've sat on a seagull's egg.
I just
was
like
that?
listening to you guys tell these stories.
Man, well, I know.
It's
I
great.
was on Oldham Street in Manchester at that fish and chip shop when, because I had a really my girlfriend when I was like 18, 19 was like really like hip, like cool, like she was really cool, and it was like a parallel world then, because like cool meant like she was like a real tomboy. She was really into the Velvet Underground. It was those kind of people who were into it. Like it's so dark in it, North Manchester energy, like smacky energy, like Velvet Underground. It's like that's what it's all about. Like let's go to the retro bar and watch like you had to go to. It was more of a Star and Garter energy, really.
Right, yeah, it was. I wasn't really allowed in there. It wasn't really cool.
It's funny how it's so like niche for you guys, like because like when I grew up, it was like everybody was just like they were the top band.
Yeah, but you guys didn't grow up with smack in your, kind of water.
But it's weird. It's like kind of like Big Star, Velvet Underground, like the stuff that's sort of considered, like more avant-garde, maybe. Like in the crowd I ran with, those were kind of the top records.
Yeah, but we had Joy Division. You know what I mean? They were like the Smiths and stuff. They're like our bands. So like that was just kind of.
That's what I mean.
We wanted
it's
to listen to like Graham Parsons and stuff because like you grow up in an environment where like of course the Velvet Underground like inspired those bands. They're all like. Well, they're all actually. They're not like loaded bands, are they? Like Joy Division and the Smiths and stuff would be like Velvet Underground and Nico bands.
Yeah, it's the same energy.
Or White Light, White Heat.
No, yeah, you're right. It's White Light, White Heat, 100%.
Joy Division, I'd say White Light, White Heat. 100%. You could break every single band down into a Velvet Underground album. Go ahead, give me a band.
Well, no, let's talk about this record. Give us the kind of like family tree of bands inspired by Loaded.
Okay, like Television.
Nice.
Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers. Yeah.
So the whole CBGB scene.
Oh, Patti Smith is different a bit because I would say there's a lot of Dylan there too. Like,
do you think Velvet Underground have any Dylan in them?
No. None at all. None at all.
Okay.
Lou Reed famously said that he thought they were the only good band in the 60s.
You don't think that he had a bit of Dylan energy?
Well, he wouldn't say that. I mean, a little bit in the sort of like that they're both kind of New York and like poets.
Yeah.
Like, and in the delivery, but he would say probably that there's nothing like Bob Dylan, in the.
I mean, he wasn't very friendly to journalists, was he? So whenever they did an interview, he probably just said whatever he wanted.
That's similar to Dylan. Similar energy.
Well, yeah, no energy, maybe. I mean, musically. I don't consider them similar musically at all. No, not really.
No.
But Yeah, it's hard to say who was better in interviews, like at their prime, because Lou Reed was amazing
So
too. Like
good.
that one where
Bleached
they,
hair one.
yeah, where they ask him all about whether he, uses drugs and stuff like that, and he says he never takes drugs, and he keeps saying it. And then they asked him what he spends all his money on, and he says on drugs.
Isn't he in
Yeah,
Australia
okay.
in that
In Australia, super serious too, ice cold.
Mm-hmm.
Bit different than Dylan, who's just kind of playing games with him, you know.
mind
Yeah.
games?
Lou seems to actually like hate them or something.
Yeah. Full of
Seems to hate
resentment.
everyone and everything.
Yeah, it's true. Well, because he's like from the mean streets or something. Like that's
He's
the
a
image
bit
he
of a
wants to give
Scorsese
off.
character, isn't he?
Yeah, you can't trust anybody. It's
No.
sort of a Travis Bickle kind of.
Yeah, he is a bit Travis Bickle.
Yeah.
How the fuck did John Cale end up in them? He's like a lad from the valleys.
Well, he's from
like
Wales,
Tom-
isn't he?
It's like Tom Jones ending up in the Beach
Well,
Boys.
it's because
really weird.
It's because the Wales people think in Britain that London and is the sort of bastion of culture, or even like Manchester. But and it might be true to an extent. Obviously, London is kind of like the main sort of source of things. But when it comes to like true bohemians, they're all from Wales. Like Wales is like the bohemian epicenter of Britain. Like Tom Jones, exactly. John Cale, Tom Jones, got like
The
Richard
Stereophonics.
Burton, the Stereophonics. Yeah, exactly. Stuart Cable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
No,
I think just like everybody went to New York probably too, right? And he was ultra cool,
I
so
don't
he
know
got
how
into the
people
factory.
How do you get to New
How's-
York from Wales, from the valley?
Especially in the 60s. No,
Yeah.
no one. He must have been rich. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense to me. No one in Wales now goes to New York. Sorry. if
No one
I'm
in
offending
Wales
Welsh
even
people.
goes to England, I don't think, anymore.
Well,
Well,
they
for
can't
good
blame
reason,
them.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you know who else? Big loaded offshoot? David Bowie, I would say.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I would say there'd be no Bowie without Sweet Jane. Like without no Hunky Dory, those records.
Yeah, I'm with you on
Like actually Sweet Jane,
Interesting.
I could show you how to play it after the show because everybody thinks it goes D, A, G and back, but actually there's a B minor in there. Nobody knows that.
No
Yeah, there's kind of like a little sly B minor in there. I could show you
That's
after.
where the darkness comes from.
No one had
minor
ever done
chord.
that before.
No one had ever done that because you think it goes dun 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 dun, but it goes
Right.
dun 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 dun. And there's a little.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Kind of bluesy, actually.
Oh, it's definitely bluesy.
Do you think I'm on the lapel mic? That's quite bluesy, isn't it? It's a bit more sort of porch recording than
That'd be more
than,
headset. Are you talking which
Oh,
kind of blues?
yeah.
Because if you're talking kind of like more like keyed up electric 80s blues, it'd be headset mic.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you can
yeah.
really feel free to and radio amp.
Microsoft Blues.
Yeah, radio amp. Well, no, even kind of a
Blue
Robert
chip.
Cray, Eric Clapton. They have like the radio unit for their amps, so they can really explore
Yeah.
the stage.
I bet they don't even use amps anymore. They just use a sort of emulator.
Yeah.
through the-
Bluetooth blues.
yeah, Blues Tooth.
Blues too.
It's
Hey,
called
listen-
Blues Tooth actually, and it just rigs you up to the PA system in the arena, and you're good to go. Yeah,
Hey, here's the here's the
Blues
first-
Tooth,
Blues
man,
tooth
that's
sounds
good.
That's like Spooky Tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read somewhere actually that Keith Richards has a guy whose job it is off stage just to hit his pedals at the right moments to change the
Nice.
hit the distortion.
Yeah.
And that's his job. He just stands there dancing, hitting the pedals because Keith don't want to do that anymore. You
Is
know?
that
I-
because? No, I think it's actually because he doesn't want to be associated with pedals. He wants to maintain that he still gets
Yeah.
all those tones naturally through an amp because he's a true original bluesman in that
And his
way.
business acumen, is
Yeah.
like I need to like maintain this, kind of identity that I've cultivated over the years. He might never have done drugs like since like 1971. You know what I mean?
It could also be that they're afraid Mick Jagger might trip on the pedals when he's jumping all around the stage.
That's true.
Yeah.
So they have to
Something
keep
like that.
now, especially because a fall could really have serious
He had one,
consequences
didn't
for
he?
him.
Or he had a heart thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
that's when Yeah.
He's so thin, isn't he? Like, if he fell now, it would definitely shatter his pelvis or
Like
something.
a porcelain
Wouldn't be
doll.
good.
Look, is it like a
Not like
porcelain
when
doll?
Jimmy Buffett fell off the stage. You ever seen that video?
No.
Oh, that's a
No.
classic. He's just doing Margaritaville, and it's like a 10-foot drop, and he's just like playing his acoustic and just walks right off. It's
If you've
I mean,
ever wondered,
maybe that was part of
if
the
you ever
show.
wondered what growing up in Wales in the 40s was like, here's the most sort of generic version of growing up in Wales in the 40s. Here's the first paragraph of John Cale's Wikipedia. John Cale was born in the industrial Amman Valley of Wales to a coal miner and a primary school teacher. His father only spoke English and his mother only spoke Welsh. Although he began learning English at primary school, Cale was molested by two men during his youth, an Anglican priest who molested him in a church and a music teacher who molested him at school. So that's the first paragraph. His mother
I mean,
was
that
in,
would make
and
me do
then
heroin.
he only liked playing the black keys of the piano, and his mother was institutionalized for having breast cancer when he was 11. So he basically goes on to say he learned the viola, went to Goldsmiths, which is a pretty good vibe. Because it would have been also like, you got to remember, like, the way out. It was the golden age of British education, so you didn't have to pay for anything anymore. Well, now you do again, but you didn't have to then. So like, he was good at the viola, so he could just go to Goldsmiths. He'd like, it's free. It's all free stuff. And when he was there, he got involved in like Fluxus stuff. I guess he was doing Fluxus stuff, like that. It's like, what is it, Dick Higgins or whatever? It's like you're just doing like Dadaist noise music and shit. I think
kind of
that's
John
it.
Cage.
Right,
And that's like how, totally.
Like
John
nonsense
Cage,
music.
Fluxus. Yeah, like it's just like the Duchamp. Well, actually, it's like the thing is like a lot of people don't understand this, but like Fluxus is like the main inspiration. Its main inspiration comes from the Dadaist movement,
Surrealists, to an
Surrealist
extent,
Dadaist
and then
movement.
of course Joseph Beuys.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, we're making fun of ourselves here because I've definitely said this kind of shit to try and
Me
get
too.
laid, so yeah,
I mean,
Jetson
cocaine,
is
I've
just
said things like this.
yeah.
Jetson is just me if I lived in California, which is what I wish,
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah,
Jetson's
I mean,
me at
just do it, man.
university.
I can't get down there now.
I don't know, man. They're
No,
saying they're
man.
going to open shit up. So I guess that's how he did it. He went to he got, it's the embourgeoisement of going to, get educated goldsmiths, getting involved with a bunch of Dadaists, and then moving to New York. New York was probably like,
For artistic reasons, probably.
yeah, it's
I bet
funny.
The coal miners of the village called him a fag when he came home.
Unbelievable. Well, he probably never went back, honestly. Would you?
Yeah. No.
I haven't been back to Stockport.
He seems like a very
No,
serious
don't bother.
man. I've never seen him laugh or make a joke in an interview. He's always like, his skin seems very tight, and he's very intense.
I mean, that's probably been the case since he was fingered by the priest. And,
Exactly.
it's-
Anglicans,
Yeah.
man. Dark. It's our version of Catholics, isn't it? The ones,
not
the
good.
songs of praise ones who have like, they have all those like, they walk around with the all the robes on and everything, and like it's kind of like have
like eyes wide shut.
yeah, it's like there is like that
Yikes.
element of it. Do you think people just like? Do you think one of his motives and motivations, John Cale, was like, my name's almost the same as John Cage. People might just confuse us.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Like-
they do confuse them, you know.
I do.
I confused Nick Cave and Nick Cage.
Yeah, all the time.
That makes total sense.
That's the same thing.
They've got the same sort of vampire energy as well, both of them.
Yeah,
haven't
they do.
It's
Definitely.
true, yeah.
Definitely.
Coked up
Yeah, I
vampire
think-
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know that Nicolas Cage has he's built himself a tomb in the shape of a pyramid in New Orleans. It's about like 100 foot high, a tomb for when he dies,
Nice.
and it's ready, waiting for him. Yeah,
Nice.
but,
That
yeah, I
sounds
don't know
good.
if- I don't know
I
if Nick
think
Cave
I
has
think
done the same
I'd like to
thing.
see him play Nick Cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And John Cage and John Cale could work on the soundtrack.
Oh yeah,
Get really
I mean-
confusing. And the movie's set in a cave.
with Christian Bale.
Or
Well-
a cage. Yeah.
Or Johnny Cage from Mortal Kombat is in it.
Uh-huh.
So we've got John Cale, John Cage, Johnny Cage,
Yeah.
Nick
Johnny
Cave, and Nick
And
Cave
Johnny
and
Depp
Johnny Payne.
and Cage the elephant.
Do the sound. They're working on it too.
They're involved
Wow.
with Cage and Kale on the soundtrack.
Yeah, that makes total sense actually to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd watch it.
I'd like to know, Sam.
I've seen it.
Seen it.
Sam, wonderful to have you back on, but I know we don't normally do sort of an interview style format here on the show, but there's just a few things I'd like to know about what's been going on with you and your account, Vom
certainly.
Cruise, because we tend to think that that's the pretty much the best Instagram account going online, and you spread truths, like we do that I didn't even know half this stuff you're talking about was real, and I'm quite frankly I'm shocked every time I see the stuff that you're revealing to the world. So I was equally shocked when you were posting some really interesting things about Chris Martin, and then about an hour later your account was deleted.
I know. I mean, it's the evidence is clear. It's happening again, and Martin is he's targeting me. His people are watching me because last night I got my account disabled again, and honestly, I know now how Mandela must have felt.
It's similar.
I'm caged.
With Nick Cage.
Yeah.
We talking about that movie again?
Or how Nick Cage might have felt like in The Rock, the movie, when he was sort of
in my method acting.
Just like in Alcatraz,
or like leaving Las Vegas, even when he was just on that bed. Dying because he drank too much. But
that we don't want to talk like that. That could be where it's headed, but let's hope not.
Yeah, let's.
Well, I mean, I don't know what. Honestly, I've had it's been the worst day of my life because I've.
You've only got about 26 and 332 days to go until you'll fully be able to feel like Nelson Mandela. And you're doing it for the same reasons too, just millennial versions of it.
I'm trying to just, free the people and tell them the
positive,
truth.
Man.
I am, but they locked me out last night just because I said I wanted to interview Rose West in prison, and I mean, if Piers Morgan did that, he'd win a BAFTA. And but me, I get Chris Martin's just looking for any fucking reason to get rid of my Instagram.
What exactly did you say about Chris Martin? If I or what did you reveal about him?
Yeah, what did you reveal?
Yeah.
I think I revealed that he's been actively trying to destroy his own ego, but then I kind of revealed to him that he still has it, and he thought he'd gotten rid of it, and I did it in a kind way. I was just like, dude, you've still got this because you're beaming your really really average new single from the International Space Station, and that's not
every
a
man
humble thing to do.
No.
Well, but what I said though, Sam, and I stand by this, is that in the field of space we are all equals. No. You know what I mean?
Well,
like there's no
Pain records aren't being beamed out there, are they? Because you think maybe the aliens, that they're not ready for that kind of shit.
Well, I like to think that in some way they are, but
I think Blur are in space.
I mean,
Beethoven's up there.
Blur is in there. They're on one of those records that we put up there. I remember.
No. I agree with you. Did he not release the single also like on Earth? Was it only in space?
I think it's only heard if you have the ability.
If you have a satellite hookup.
No, you have to go to space to hear it. So it's only like Elon who's heard it, and the guys who were on the ISS.
And probably David Crosby was given a machine with his maybe if you have a Tesla, can you pick up music from space on the stereo?
To do with that, yeah.
That would be cool.
It's through the Tesla stereo, you can. Do you know when Elon put a Tesla into space with a dummy in it?
He did do that.
And it was playing a Bowie song, wasn't it? It was playing
Starman. Yeah.
There's a theory, which is quite obviously true, that inside that dummy was actually David Bowie's corpse, and it is floating around the atmosphere now, rotting to his own song.
That's interesting.
Imploding, so to speak.
Well, that's the thing, you see, in space. You literally implode.
You literally implode.
Yeah.
There's no perspective there.
No,
isn't.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
That's what I've been saying.
If you can see the Tesla, there is. But if you can't see anything, there's no perspective. But
what would be
something to give you perspective? Time is relative to that, and there's too much. We don't want.
You know what would be? You know what would be
keeps
fucking
folding,
amazing.
and then
Yes, it keeps space is constantly unfolding. That's what we do know for certain. It's infinite. It's fucking gargantuan. Space. How big is it? We don't know.
Yeah.
It's constantly unfolding.
goes to 11
So
yeah, it will, and
forever-
beyond, and beyond,
and beyond 11.
So
and beyond,
I guess
and what's
it's
beyond
on-
11? What's beyond 11?
Interesting.
One more
so it's
and then
yeah.
11.
No, there's only 11, or we don't know. It's unknown. Wouldn't it be insane if, like, Chris Martin, like, this is what he was thinking, that he would release it in space just to kind of be like, you know what? I don't want it to get reviewed. I don't want it to be anything. This is just, like, going to be for the universe. And then, like, some alien colony, like, heard it and, like, reviewed it, like, shit sandwich or whatever. Like, they're like, we've heard the Beatles shit that you put out on, like, the space shuttle and, like, Beethoven and, like, or whatever.
That
And
was
this
good.
this is shit.
2 would.
I heard
this one.
I heard a story about Chris Martin from a music journalist who'd reviewed him, and he'd given like an album like 3 out of 5. You know, not a bad review, just a sort of this isn't a great album, it's just an average album. And then he got invited to an after show party or something of a Coldplay show, and he was there, and Chris Martin came over to him and like stared him out, and he was just like, "Why are you here? You don't like my band. You don't like my band. Why are you here? Why are you here?"
That's pretty cool.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah, he takes this thing very seriously, and you know, obviously, he's seen my Instagram page, and
Well, yeah.
he's taking offence to me saying that it's quite a big ego move to beam your shitty new Max Martin produced single
you still
from
banned?
the international space. Yeah, I'm banned. Well, I got unbanned, and then I got banned last night for saying that I wanted to hang out with Rose West, and
If
which
Martin
isn't a crime.
Bashir did that, it would be massive. It's kind of like, that's just like interviewing Dahmer or like Ted Bundy or something. People have done
Exactly.
that kind of stuff. They do it on the 60 Minutes. I bet Charlie Rose has done it.
Well, there's obviously a rat, because there's someone who's reporting me who doesn't like me. Probably Martin, but you know, I think I'm gonna have to get a job at Instagram to infiltrate the system and
Makes sense.
find out who the rat is.
Good idea. Good
Yeah.
idea.
Do you want, my dad called me up the other day and we were talking on the phone, and he was laughing because he was reading a newspaper and there was this kind of like Dylan retrospective kind of interview, and he sent me it and he thought I'd enjoy it, and I thought you might enjoy this too, because it's a real kind of Suits corner. He's kind of like the Pitchfork guy, but like a Tory version of it, writing in the Times, who says, listen, I'll just pick a couple of bits out of this, you know. Dylan was fortunate in his formative years to find performers who did justice to his songs and sometimes gave them a lick of paint. For example, Mr. Tambourine Man is not a great song, but performed by the Byrds, it makes a terrific pop record. They also turned My Back Pages inside out. Believe that shit? Did Crosby
What a
write this, do you
joke.
think?
Of course.
It makes you wonder, because I think about that like with these guys, like with Crosby and Mike Love, or you realize that like, and Clapton, of course, and Don Henley's really famous for it, like his like revisionism, like his revisionist history of is like amazing, and they don't stop. It's tireless. They're like constantly putting these things in papers to try and kind of
it.
they believe it, and they think they speak the loudest. So if they say these kind of things enough, people are gonna just assume it's truth. It's like how everyone thinks that, you know, Eric Clapton is technically the best blues player and say it, but no one actually knows what it means.
well, just guitar, not even blues.
Just guitar.
Something about the way he moves his hand makes people think, well, and just, yeah, exactly what he puts out into the media. I think I've been thinking about this technical thing, and I think somehow it has to do with just hitting notes cleanly.
Right.
But it doesn't even matter if you play anything. You could literally just do like that Steven Seagal solo, like dam 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 dam. But if you hit it clean on the the fret, you're better than Jimmy Page. So you could be technically better than Jimmy Page if you just work on your hammer-on sounding really clean.
Because Jimmy Page is quite sloppy at times in live recordings, isn't he? Probably because he's got like a 14-year-old noshing him off at the same time.
Wow, I think maybe Sam might have written this thing that we've James.
Yeah.
Well, are you saying that what he lacks in technical ability he makes up for in showmanship?
And performance on the record is perfect, but I've seen a few
Interesting.
live recordings where he's maybe just doesn't care. I mean, he's just in the vibe, and I like it. I'm not criticizing him. I you know.
You're just saying technically.
He's not hitting the notes as cleanly as Eric.
Right. Did you guys hear about how Eric got his second vaccine and his arm? Did you hear? It's like when the real world intersects with our podcast. That he came out and said his arm was so sore he was afraid he'd never play again.
Oh no! Slow.
And this was big news. Like he was saying, my blues career, I was afraid it was over, as if this would be like devastating for the world of music.
It would be.
I mean,
I feared I would never play again.
Give him another one?
Sorry.
The world is like, we'll all take a third if we can stop him playing. He says, I honestly thought I couldn't play blues ever again, but thank God I only had to take 2 vaccines. World Blues Organization says everyone must take stop this man.
Insists on a third dose. Yeah.
That's how you get people with vaccine hesitancy to get vaccinated. Say, Eric said if you get it, a third one, he might not be able to play blues ever again.
I mean, there'll be a lot of boomers upset.
Mass
I read the other day
suicides,
that you know that song he's for his son who he pushed out the window, "Tears in Heaven."
Yeah.
Let him be, Sam.
Yeah. Well, I should let him be.
Let him be.
He's suffered enough.
Like, 'cause everyone sold that on like he's written this song for his son who sadly departed, and he's written a song about meeting him again in heaven. And I read that he actually didn't write it. He just like sat down with a dude and played a riff, and then this pro songwriter, I forgot who he is. He's like the guy who like wrote Footloose as well and something.
Nice. Yeah,
you know,
totally.
and he
and all the Aerosmith songs.
He wrote all the words. Yeah, and like yeah.
Good
don't miss a thing. No, that's that lady, isn't it? But
so he just had like
he just had a riff, and then
play it, John?
honestly, some guy just said like, how about you meet? Would you know my name? And Eric just was like, yeah, okay, fine. So he didn't write any of the words. So it's not really they sold the whole thing. He capitalized on his son's death.
Well, he's a
to be fair, Sam. To be fair, Sam, he didn't really have.
It's not very bluesy, is it? It's not very bluesy.
It's not a blues.
Well, no,
song,
and to be fair, he didn't really have time to write the whole thing because he needed to get the single out within a month of his son's death to fully cash in. You know what I mean?
100%.
So he had to fast track the writing process. That's all. So he hired someone to help. That's all.
When you're
the Unplugged special came out, you know, he had to rehearse for that too. He couldn't focus on writing a song about his son all at the same time.
It'd be interesting
That's a lot of work
to see if he'd arranged to do the Unplugged session before his son died. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying it'd be interesting.
Oh,
maybe that's worth researching for one of our listeners. I don't know.
There's a lot of sort of web sleuth theories that, you know, there was some sort of satanic process going on when his son... Yeah, his son was sacrificed in some way. Maybe he had to make another sacrifice to the
crossroads,
devil. Yeah, maybe he had to... For his career to last through the 90s, he had to... The devil was like, listen, dude, you've had enough from that deal. You've had enough.
You've played enough blues. You played enough blues, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, if you want another go, you need to make a big sacrifice. And he's
it's not
what
like
about my love child?
You think it was a life... There was an all of your life thing, but actually, like, if you still alive after 30 years, you have to sort of re-up on the crossroads stuff.
I think so, yeah.
That makes sense, actually. Yeah.
I think David Guetta might have done a similar deal because he's like a 50-year-old guy.
He gets younger every year.
Yeah, and he plays the biggest shows ever, and he gets like $2 million a night.
No one really knows why.
You know, and he's just like a French 55-year-old dad.
He's a hero.
And he is a hero, but I mean, there must be some sort of deal going on there with the devil, and I don't know who he's
or just the deep state.
Yeah, I mean,
listen to this. Michael Henderson writing about Dylan. I've got some great stuff here. This is a 5-paragraph, I think it's because it was his birthday. So he says, listen to this. Sude's Corner here, this guy. Some of the songs, I'm going to do a posh Tory voice because he definitely is. He's someone of the times this. Some of the songs have been rated too highly. Like a Rolling... He's already said that Dylan's songs like from Mr. Tambourine Man stuff were better as Bird songs. Some of the songs have been rated too highly. Like a Rolling Stone with its jugglers and clowns is pretty tiresome. And we've heard Blowing in the Wind at least once too often. But the good ones will endure. And he likes... he's really into Blood on the Tracks. Listen to this is good. So where does he stand, this troubadour, in the ranks of the American minstrelsy? So it's kind of ranking system. When you look at the formidable lineup, it can be difficult to know. Paul Simon certainly belongs there. Brian Wilson had 5 years of abundance. And of the rockers, Neil Young has the hit catalogue. In terms of singability, which must be one measure of a song, they all trail behind Hal David and Burt Bacharach. Down the highway, down the tracks, down the road to ecstasy, wherever you place him, Dylan has earned his place in that pantheon.
Wow.
This is good too. This is really interesting. We could actually talk about this briefly. Shelter from the Storm, recorded in Minneapolis in the last week of 1974, is the most haunting song on Blood on the Tracks. The record he will be remembered for a century from now. And in a strange way, that record makes a companion piece for the Winterreise, Schubert's incomparable song cycle. And just as Schubert holds back his most affecting song, Das Wursthaus, until almost the end, Dylan makes us wait for Shelter from the Storm, which is the best song he has written.
Wow, I mean, this guy is definitely divorced, isn't he? Like, doesn't have access to his kids anymore.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't, they don't want to see him.
Yeah, exactly. He has access to his kids, they don't want to see him.
I mean, it's definitely pretty clear that Dylan was thinking about Schubert when he made that album.
Well, I mean, that's
I've always
all I
thought
know.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
I love
guys,
comparing...
I'm going to have to get a beer and have a pee, so I'll be 2 minutes.
Yeah, do that, yeah, and then we'll talk about
sorry.
Loaded, because I actually wanted to ask Johnny something.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it,
we
so
can
you
just
guys
take a
carry on.
minute. Let's take a minute.
Leave it
then.
running. Leave it running.
Yeah,
Okay, I won't be a minute.
Don't turn it off. Leave it running.
Mic off.
Sup. Oh yeah.
Yeah, my thing came back. Like, it was fun at the
Yeah.
beginning when I turned it off.
Oh,
like, it
fine.
was
great.
it was working, but I was just like, this is fuck, because it started and it was doing it, and I was like, I don't want to. So I just did that, but then it came back,
Yeah.
which is good.
It's just, I think it just sometimes does things like that. The internet, doesn't it? You know.
Yeah, but it seemed okay when I turned it off, and you could just hear me. It was fine.
It felt great.
Yeah.
It
It was actually really a trip when we were talking about like somebody being off stage. You couldn't see them doing the guitar solo, and I had my video off, and I was like telling that story. It was pretty psychedelic.
Yeah, it's all very psychedelic at this point, frankly. Oh yeah. Oh, you got a couple there. We got about, we got to do at least another 10 minutes. We got about 10 minutes, about 10 more
Hey
minutes.
guys, I'm back.
How's your recording looking, Sam?
In what way? The waveform.
It's fine. No, it's fine. It's just
Looks quite
recording still.
bluesy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we ready to go here?
Yes, sorry about that.
No,
guys.
it's all right.
I've got a weak bladder. I'm an old man.
Hang on 1 second there. I need a second, actually. I was gonna. Okay.
You were gonna ask me something about.
Well, wait till Sam sat back down here.
I'm back in the game.
Yeah. Johnny, what's the situation with Doug Yule?
Oh yeah. Well, you know, John Cale left the band because he, at the time of the third album, because he wanted to do things like record with the amps underwater,
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and normal stuff.
Kind of Brian
Reasonable,
Wilson
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and Lou Reed thought that was a bit silly.
Right.
So, and they were just two sort of competitive A-type personalities, and it was basically like him or me kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Cale left, and Doug Yule came in. He was a young, fresh-faced lad,
Yeah.
sort of a folky kind of guy, and I
Pilgrim.
guess, yeah, definitely a Pilgrim energy, and Lou took a real liking to him, and they started working closely on music, and Lou realizing that his voice sounded sort of like his own, except sweeter and higher. So Lou would write songs, and Doug would sing a lot of them, about half on the third album and on Loaded.
Yeah.
And everybody just thought it was Lou Reed singing, which is funny, myself included, for a long time.
Yeah.
And then, it's really interesting because the Mo Tucker got pregnant, so she couldn't drum on Loaded, and they got Doug Yule's brother. So it's a totally different sounding record. It's like barely a Velvet Underground record. And then the weird thing about it is that Lou quit right when they finished the record, and for some insane reason, Doug Yule decided that it was his job to keep the band going. And toured as the Velvet Underground and made another Velvet Underground record called Squeeze, which only he plays on.
Nice.
And to this day is hated by fans of the band for
tarnishing
tarnishing what would have been a perfect 4-album career or whatever.
How did he get the name? How did he keep the name? Like, Lou was
I guess
just too junked up to care.
Yeah.
He didn't give a shit.
No,
Yeah,
he
it was
shit.
over.
He was over
Yeah.
in Berlin at that point. No, he was at Trident doing Transformer, wasn't he?
Well, he did a solo record
Yes.
that kind of bombed, and then Bowie got his
involved.
fangs in him.
Right.
And so who comes from
David saved the day.
As he does.
David.
David,
Bowie.
he loves to come in and
David Bowie.
find his heroes who are drowning
Yeah, ailing heroes
in a pool of mediocrity and
Yeah.
pull them out and turn
swimming
them
in a
into
sea of
artistic.
mediocrity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what he did. Yeah, so true.
a sea of sexual
A swimming in a sea of retarded sexuality. I think
That's the review of
the gospel
Intravenous.
Intravenous
Oh, yeah.
Denial, the gospel according to Spinal Tap. Yeah, interesting. Well, I mean, that's interesting because I was actually kind of bummed out when I realized. Well, I wasn't bummed out because I kind of didn't really care, but I was kind of a bit skeptical of Loaded when I remembered some deep conversations. You talking about Loaded, Cat Power, Bonnie Prince Billy, all those kind.
Right.
They're all kind of in the. I feel like where do they come in on your? Everyone has a certain record that they're interested in. They're the lineage of the Velvet Underground. Where's
Bonnie
Cat
Prince
Power?
Billy. Cat Power, well, she did a lot of different kind of stuff.
Yeah, she's kind of.
But I would say she's pretty third album.
Okay, what about Bonnie Prince Billy?
Probably third album too.
Yeah, I guess so.
I would say. Yeah, a little bit of
I
Loaded.
remember what-
Wilco, big Loaded band.
Okay.
I would say.
Big Star?
Big Star, definitely Loaded, but it depends. The third album definitely has first Velvet Underground energy.
Teenage Fan Club.
Loaded, big time. But that's Big Star.
Yeah,
They're
they're
Big
kind
Star,
of
aren't they?
through
They're
Big
Big
Star.
Star.
Yeah, through Big
So
Star.
they're like Loaded,
Yeah.
but through the perception of Radio City or something.
And interestingly, the third Big Star album, Sister Lovers, has a cover of Femme Fatale.
Yes.
So there's the lineage right there.
Do you
Well,
think
that's the
Chris
first
Martin's
record, isn't
heard Velvet Underground?
I don't know if
Which
Chris
one
Martin.
do you think Coldplay is of the 4 records?
Yeah.
They're probably
Nah, this one's
like,
in space.
Yeah.
They're more shark
They're like
sandwich.
the Doug Mule record, aren't they?
Yeah, Squeeze. Yeah,
Squeeze.
they're
They're Squeeze. That's why he made Squeeze.
He's only in.
No,
the
this
only
makes total
Velvet
sense.
record he's into is
But it makes
Squeeze.
this makes sense now that Yule did this, because for Yule he realized that every band we'd done every kind of music, every kind of indie rock music that was going to come, any kind of independent artistic music that was going to come was going to be sort of foraged from the ashes of the 4 records that had already been made. And he was thinking, but what about all the shit music that's going to come out? I've got to
Exactly.
make a shit
My
record
corner.
so that you'll forever be able to associate every independent record for all time with one Velvet Underground record.
Yeah.
Yeah, U2, Coldplay, all that stuff.
Squeeze.
Squeeze,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Very Squeeze.
Yeah,
that makes
definitely.
sense.
Like,
You ever heard
a lot.
Squeeze?
No, I didn't.
I
know it
have
existed.
listened to it. It's fucking weird.
What about
to listen
Live
to.
at Max's Kansas City, though? What's that?
Well, the that's just a tape recorder bootleg from the crowd.
Does that
But
count
there-
in terms of the... would that not be like Jam Deck or something?
No, there's a yeah. I mean, maybe the sort of like yeah, I guess. There's also like Live 1969, the one with the ass on the cover.
Yeah.
That I'm not, and then there's also the VU
Yes.
sort of
Yeah,
outtakes
yeah, yeah.
album, which
Yeah.
would maybe be more of a.
Well, that has a bad cover.
Yeah,
CD
with just-
style cover.
I think it was a straight to CD kind of release.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
But-
best. Do you know Macaulay Culkin has a pizza-based Velvet Underground tribute band called Pizza Underground?
Yeah, that's
And
right.
Every song's about a pizza or something. But that's what happens when you get raped by Michael Jackson, I guess.
Yeah, what's Michael Jackson?
Well, here's the thing: is like
He's Disco Velvets.
the other thing we haven't talked about is how the Velvet Underground are like a big part of twee. The twee culture,
You're really into
like
the
Jason
twee thing.
Schwartzman,
Yeah, Belle and Sebastian.
Zoe Deschanel, Wes Anderson.
Yeah, Wes Anderson.
The third album in particular, and some of the
Wilsons.
Stephanie says
Yeah.
when she wants to know. There's a lot of the Wilson brothers,
Yeah.
that Belle and Sebastian,
Yeah.
that kind
Arab
of thing.
Strap, maybe. Or
The
something.
twee revolution of the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It started with the Garden State, the movie,
Yeah, the Notebook, maybe a bit.
And-
Well, the Shins.
and the Shins, and ended with
the
a
Decemberists
Wes Anderson
or
movie.
something?
Like
Oh, it ended
that-
with like some kind of like the Budapest
the
Hotel or
Darjeeling
something.
Limited.
Yeah.
And that movement's really just metamorphosized into like this situation we're in now, where every TV advert has a ukulele on it, and it's like
Yep.
it's
Hey-ho
bouncy
music.
and like ding ding ding, it's like
Yeah.
hey, buy a sofa, it's
Live
so
lounge.
jolly
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah, and so if we can, but that's so far from the Velvets. I mean, I guess if Velvet Underground hadn't done heroin, they would have used ukuleles.
It's not their
Possible,
fault,
yeah.
but I'm saying they're like the music they made, particularly on the third album, and some songs on Loaded, were
It's
so
Doug Yule's
sweet.
voice a bit.
Yeah, so sweet and innocent and simple in that way that they were really embraced
Like
by
Sweet
people.
Nothing.
Yeah, and like Candy Says,
Yeah. What, Lonesome
Well, yeah,
Cowboy Bill.
that's pretty just kind of
New
country
age,
rock and
maybe?
roll. Yeah, that kind of stuff. And like, even on the third album, if you close the door,
Yeah.
the night could last
Is that
forever.
like, it's Wario Beach Boys.
Yeah, sort of.
I think I listened to it today for the first time I listened to like 3 songs.
Yeah, nice.
But I heard, and I knew some of them anyway, but
Never heard of it.
I heard some sort of Kinksian energy in their...
Kinksian.
Kinksian, yeah. I had some sort of Ray Davis influence coming in there.
The New
in
York
sort of-
Kinks.
in the backing vocals, especially in the la la la, there was some
Yeah.
la la la
Oh, yeah.
or some shit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it was very Ray.
I like that.
It's I'm sure.
Dave Davies would have been a good member of Velvet Underground, I think, because he would have gone full.
Could replace
headfirst into
Tucker,
the
maybe.
junk.
No, that wouldn't
Yeah.
make sense, would it?
Yeah, he would have done it. Yeah, for sure.
What about what about though, like how cool Lou Reed is?
Yeah, I mean,
Like Rock and Roll Sweet Jane. It's
he's pretty
everything,
untouchable.
Every band post 99. You know,
I mean, rock and roll is like one of those. If you ask me what song I wish I'd written, like that's definitely up there.
who's playing the guitar on that one?
Sterling, I guess, and
Wicked
him.
guitar too, like the solo.
That part when the solo breaks,
And
it was all
right.
Yeah, and that's full Julian Casablancas, obviously.
Yeah,
It's amazing, actually, looking back, that he got. It was all right that he did that. Like, I mean, I love the Strokes and still do, but like, it is like if you wait long enough and people forget, you can just do someone.
Was Lou Reed still alive when
Yeah.
they were?
They probably
he was,
loved
wasn't
each
he?
other. These older guys, they love people who
He thought
like.
he was a dick.
No, because
like-
Dylan only hangs around with people who sound like him.
Yeah, Knopfler. And
Lou
Tom
Reed.
Petty.
Lou Reed. I don't really know that he he gave a shit about any of that. But I think I've seen a photo of him standing with the Strokes in like a full leather suit.
Yeah, it's
I
also
saw him do a performance on TV with Metallica, which was dreadful.
Oh,
Oh,
God, remember
brutal.
that?
Yeah, that was really.
That was. Oh, you're right. That was.
he must have
weird.
needed money for GAC, because he also they like Perfect Day was destroyed by Britain, like at one point, where they did like a version of it with everyone famous and their dogs singing a line of it.
It was for charity, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was on it, but it was also like Pavarotti and then like Steps.
And the girl from M People.
Yeah, well, she's fine, but like, you know, every person, the Lighthouse family died.
Bono was on it.
Bono, of course. Bono got 2 lines. He was
did?
like, I need 2 lines if I'm doing this. I'm not just taking one. Lou got 1.
Yeah, that was really big, wasn't it? Was it when someone died or something? It was like
Probably, yeah.
I don't know. It was to commemorate something or for some charity or something. I don't know, but yeah, they
War
ruined that song
Child,
for everyone.
or like,
Yeah.
you know.
Was Lou on it though? He wasn't.
He
on
did
it, was
one line, yeah. He got to say like, you made me forget myself or something. Oh, it's kind of
Right.
Bowie doing Lou. You made me forget myself.
So
You ever heard that record, New York, of Lou Reed's?
Nah, but
Yeah.
he's
Fucking
he is
wicked.
He is the kind of
Like 89. It's so good.
Yeah, I'm more of
great,
a
You know,
isn't
I'm actually more of like a Metal Machine music guy.
Well, I mean, that's his bet. That's, I mean, depends what, I mean,
won't
but
even
like,
discuss it.
yeah, it depends what you mean, but I mean, it's definitely his most important work.
Oh, interesting.
yeah,
Maybe not the most accessible, but most important for sure.
this is a.
I worked with a guy in the record store here in Vancouver who said, like, believe
Nice.
that.
Nice.
He was like, it's the only good album he ever made.
Those
the
guys,
only
I
good
love
music.
hanging around with
Yeah.
those guys. Those guys are my kind of people.
I mean, yeah.
My
Those guys are
favorite
dying
kind of
out,
people.
aren't
My favorite kind of people to hang around with are guys that like when you sit down in a bar and you barely know them, open a conversation with the Beatles or shit, discuss.
Oh.
You know, those kind of guys. I
There's
like
loads
those
of
guys.
articles that do that now. Like Vice do articles like that now, don't they? They say
Condé
they just
Nast
wanna-
Christ.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they'll say, you know, the Beatles are fucking rubbish, and here's why, and you're a dick. That'll be the whole like article.
Well, that's just
Like, you're-
clickbait, isn't it?
I know, but it works. It winds me up. Just going off tangent, just to why I remember. Have you guys ever heard the Metallica covering the Beatles? Because
Sure, it's good.
It's so fuck like they did Beatles songs sometimes live, but
Nice.
James Hetfield and Lars Ulrich love the Beatles, and it'll be like, the song is God in My Life, and he'll go, but he does it in his voice, and he'll go like, there are places I remember
That makes
where men
sense.
live.
They might be from the John Lennon side of
It's-
things.
It's very strange, but yeah, you know, he takes all the delicacy out of John Lennon's songs and, you know, really metals them up.
I love that when you hear stuff like that, like how Metallica were just, they're just Beatles, really.
Consider
Yeah.
themselves.
And like how you hear how Ozzy Osbourne, like, really all he likes is like Elton John, like
Yeah.
piano ballads.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's like, if I'd been able to have a band that I wanted, we would have just played Elton John, sort of Billy Joel type stuff.
I mean, yeah.
He says it all the time, like changes on, you know, Sabbath 4, like that's the only Sabbath song that he can really get behind.
It's a good one.
I
Hey
heard that
guys,
he got caught cheating on Sharon a couple of years ago.
Oh, no.
And then he said, I thought it was you, because he was so fucked up. He's like, I thought she was you, Sharon. And he got away with it. I thought it was fucking you.
Well,
Yeah.
Hey,
Is
listen,
it called
I
Black? Is it called Black Sabbath 4?
Yes, it's called Volume 4.
Volume 4. Yeah.
No one had ever done that.
No.
No, that's why I want to go to the gym. It's a nice day. I've not been outside yet, and I want to go run to the gym, get huge, and then come back and have I don't know, maybe I was going to make a salad niçoise or something. So I think we can wrap it up here.
You guys, you know where I'm going right now?
Yeah.
To get my first dose of the
Nice,
vaccine.
Oh,
Me and
mate,
Sam
yeah,
are Teflon
5G.
boys.
Your
We've already
internet will
got
work
it.
so much better, mate, when you've got that.
Exactly. Maybe that's it.
Yeah, it could be.
I'll put this out on a Wednesday. So thanks for listening to Impossible Way of Life, and subscribe to our Patreon where you can hear more of this. And thanks a lot, Sam. I hope they put you back on the internet, because you're the main source of our fans.
I think someone's trying to force me onto TikTok. I think that's what's going on, and
Could be that.
you know, but I'll kill myself on TikTok if they don't give me.
Yeah,
my
live
Instagram
stream your
page
death.
back.
That's the way to do it. And for anyone who's fucking with Sam, just do something positive. Honestly, that's all. Not even go for it. Just do something positive, because that's
I'll swim
negative.
with dolphins.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. It's lovely to see you both.
You too.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
guys.
All right, take care.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.